A little girl witnessed her father intentionally push her drunk mother down the stairs. The mother, barely alive, begged her to call for help, but the girl coldly kicked her away and watched her mother take her last breath. Baek Ah-jin was never treated well by her mother, while her father remained indifferent. Over time, her warped personality developed into antisocial tendencies. The same girl who could coldly watch her mother die grew up taking pleasure in seeking revenge on every bully. Her homeroom teacher once mocked her as a powerless orphan, which she resented. On the teacher's birthday, when the whole class was celebrating, the teacher's husband suddenly stormed into the classroom and slapped her, scattering photos of her cheating with another man all over the floor. The affair was exposed, and the teacher instantly became synonymous with filth. As students looked on in disgust, she stumbled out of the school. Baek Ah-jin approached, held her up, and whispered in her ear, asking if she liked the gift she had prepared. The teacher saw Baek Ah-jin as if she were a demon. She never expected this seemingly weak and harmless girl to be so malicious. When the school announced a debate competition, Yoon Jun-seo, a top student who had been selected, offered to give his spot to Baek Ah-jin. Shim Sung-hee, who had also been selected but always resented Baek Ah-jin for outscoring her, told her mother about it. Her mother, as a parent representative, donated money to the school monthly and promised to handle Baek Ah-jin. Still, Shim Sung-hee called Yoon Jun-seo, hoping he wouldn't give up his spot. Little did she know that Yoon Jun-seo was currently lying on Baek Ah-jin's lap, and the two appeared unusually close. Baek Ah-jin found a love letter Shim Sung-hee had written to Yoon Jun-seo in his bag and immediately demanded to reply on his behalf. The next day, rumors spread that Baek Ah-jin was an orphan. Additionally, the school received complaints from parents that she was having trouble fitting in with the debate team, so they decided to revoke her spot and reinstate Yoon Jun-seo. When Baek Ah-jin returned to class, Shim Sung-hee rushed over to mock her for being kicked out of the debate team. Baek Ah-jin handed her a love letter, saying Yoon Jun-seo had asked her to deliver it. Shim Sung-hee opened it eagerly, only to find it written in red ink, "No one likes you. You're annoying." At this time, the homeroom teacher sent another message. Someone reported that a contestant's parents had bribed the judges, and the school decided to cancel this year's debate competition. Shim Sung-hee was convinced Baek Ah-jin was behind it. She compared Baek Ah-jin's handwriting to that on the love letter and confirmed they were identical. Seeking revenge, she grabbed a bucket of water and drenched Baek Ah-jin. Baek Ah-jin returned to the classroom drenched, and Yoon Jun-seo quickly brought her a towel and took her to the infirmary. Baek Ah-jin grabbed Yoon Jun-seo's sleeve, tearfully complaining that she was worried Shim Sung-hee would do something else, begging Yoon Jun-seo to help her. Meanwhile, Shim Sung-hee picked up the phone of underachiever Kim Jae-oh and was shocked to find he was running a loan shark operation. The chat records revealed that Kim Jae-oh had a boss giving orders behind the scenes. Shim Sung-hee reported this to the teacher, resulting in Kim Jae-oh receiving a severe scolding. Upon hearing the news, Baek Ah-jin immediately went to Kim Jae-oh, who reassured her that he hadn't ratted on her. It turned out Baek Ah-jin was Kim Jae-oh's boss. She had once caught him stealing in class but didn't report him. Instead, she demanded he obey her, forming an alliance between them. Touched that Kim Jae-oh would rather be punished than betray her, Baek Ah-jin hugged him and ordered him to help her deal with Shim Sung-hee. Meanwhile, Yoon Jun-seo separately confronted Shim Sung-hee, telling her that Baek Ah-jin had written the reply love letter. He also admitted that he liked Shim Sung-hee. To go on a date with her, Yoon Jun-seo suggested they both skip gym class and return to the classroom. Shim Sung-hee faked a stomachache to get permission to rest in the classroom. Upon returning, she saw a message on the blackboard telling her to go to the art room. She erased the words and went to the art room, where she saw the art teacher holding Baek Ah-jin's hand and talking, with Baek Ah-jin speaking about true love. Unbeknownst to her, after she left the classroom, Kim Jae-oh opened her locker and secretly placed the money he had stolen from the class monitor's pocket collected by everyone to buy a wedding gift for the homeroom teacher inside. Unable to find Yoon Jun-seo, Shim Sung-hee returned to the classroom. Soon, the students who had left class began to return. The class monitor then discovered the money collected for the gift was missing. Everyone knew Shim Sung-hee had left early to return to the classroom, and they all suspected her of stealing the money. To clear her name, Shim Sung-hee emptied everything from her bag. Kim Jae-oh took the opportunity to kick open her locker, where his phone and the missing money were found. The evidence was undeniable, and everyone was convinced Shim Sung-hee was the thief. Shim Sung-hee looked at Baek Ah-jin by the door and silently said, "It's not over." In an instant, she realized this was all part of Baek Ah-jin's plot. To expose Baek Ah-jin, she loudly accused her of being the mastermind behind Kim Jae-oh's loan shark operation, claiming she had seen the text messages on his phone. Kim Jae-oh pulled out his phone and proved on the spot that there were no records of communication with Baek Ah-jin. Shim Sung-hee suspected Kim Jae-oh had tampered with the evidence and then accused Baek Ah-jin of having an affair with the art teacher. The moment she finished speaking, the homeroom teacher stormed in and slapped her hard. It turned out the person the homeroom teacher was about to marry was the art teacher, a secret no one knew except Baek Ah-jin, who had accidentally learned it from the class monitor. Baek Ah-jin stepped forward to explain that the art teacher was only concerned about her and had introduced her to a true love counseling center for psychological support. Everyone condemned Shim Sung-hee for making baseless accusations. Cornered, Shim Sung-hee desperately explained that she had left class early to meet Yoon Jun-seo, but Yoon Jun-seo looked innocent and claimed he had spent the entire period in the equipment room with the gym class representative, who also stepped forward to confirm. After being disciplined, Shim Sung-hee left the school in a daze, vowing to have her powerful parents deal with Baek Ah-jin. At this moment, Baek Ah-jin delivered another cruel message. The man having an affair with the female teacher was her own lawyer father. Once the scandal broke, her father would be ruined, and Shim Sung-hee would become known as the thief daughter of the adulterous lawyer. Shim Sung-hee unexpectedly encountered Baek Ah-jin's father at the school gate, who had come looking for his daughter. Noting his shabby appearance, she deliberately led him into the school, loudly announcing to everyone that he was Baek Ah-jin's father. Fortunately, Yoon Jun-seo found the father first, promised him money, and escorted him off the premises. Yoon Jun-seo retrieved some cash, handed it to Baek Ah-jin's father, and warned him never to bother Baek Ah-jin again. However, the father had long treated his daughter as a cash cow and would return to harass her whenever he needed money. To punish the meddling Shim Sung-hee, Baek Ah-jin intentionally brought her notebook in front of everyone. The notebook contained Shim Sung-hee's ranking of classmates into tiers, filled with derogatory remarks about them. The contents sparked outrage, and Shim Sung-hee later faced retaliation from her peers. Unable to bear it, she chose to transfer schools. With her father's harassment and Shim Sung-hee's targeting gone, Baek Ah-jin's life fell into unprecedented peace. But this tranquility didn't last long. She suddenly received a call from Kim Jae-oh, who, along with his younger brother, had long suffered abuse from their father. That day, their drunken father had become convinced his younger son was possessed by evil spirits and tried to kill him. In a struggle to protect his brother, Kim Jae-oh rushed to grab the knife and accidentally stabbed their father to death. After settling his brother with relatives, Kim Jae-oh decided to turn himself in. He called Baek Ah-jin, saying that over all these years, she was the only one who had ever told him he was useful. He thanked her for being the light in his life. After that, Baek Ah-jin and Yoon Jun-seo spent a peaceful school life together and both got into university. Yoon Jun-seo borrowed money from his grandfather to pay for Baek Ah-jin's tuition, reassuring her not to worry and that things would only get better. Just as Baek Ah-jin looked forward to college, her father, who had lost all his money gambling, came knocking again. He stole the money she had saved for tuition and beat her. As she lay unconscious, she recalled the tragic past. Her father had insisted her mother died from falling down the stairs drunk, hastily buried her, and then brought Baek Ah-jin to his new wife's house, Yoon Jun-seo's stepmother. The stepmother didn't want to raise a child with no blood relation, but her father called Baek Ah-jin a cash cow, saying they could make a fortune by filming and selling videos of her. The stepmother agreed to try a few videos before sending Baek Ah-jin to an orphanage. Baek Ah-jin, who had overheard the conversation outside, realized she was about to fall into another abyss. One night, when Yoon Jun-seo fell ill, his mother only told him to sleep well and then ignored him. It was Baek Ah-jin who took care of him. Yoon Jun-seo showed her a family photo album, which included his mother, his late father, and a driver named Kang, who had moved abroad. Baek Ah-jin immediately recognized Kang as Yoon Jun-seo's real father. While the nanny took Yoon Jun-seo to the hospital, Baek Ah-jin confronted his mother, threatening to expose Kang's identity to Yoon Jun-seo's grandfather and cut off his inheritance if she sent Baek Ah-jin to the orphanage. The stepmother was stunned by the little girl's boldness and became wary. Days later, the stepmother overheard Baek Ah-jin brainwashing her son, telling him his mother didn't care for him when he was sick and that only Baek Ah-jin truly loved him. Furious, the stepmother dragged Baek Ah-jin into the bathroom to punish her. This scene was witnessed by Yoon Jun-seo, who had just returned. Baek Ah-jin seized the opportunity to flee upstairs and ordered Yoon Jun-seo to call an ambulance, claiming a child had fallen from the second floor. Shortly after, Baek Ah-jin woke up in the hospital to find Yoon Jun-seo crying by her bedside. Yoon Jun-seo explained that he had read her diary and realized the big bad person mentioned in it was his own mother. He was convinced that only Baek Ah-jin truly cared for him, and vowed to stand firmly by her side from then on. The flashback ended, and Baek Ah-jin slowly regained consciousness, seeing Yoon Jun-seo holding her hand tightly. She learned she had been in a coma for 3 days, and immediately remembered she had missed her university registration. She called the school, only to be told her enrollment spot had been given to a waitlisted student due to the missed deadline. On their way home, Baek Ah-jin and Yoon Jun-seo witnessed a man bravely catching a thief. Baek Ah-jin stared at the man intently, believing it was a fateful encounter. She thought this justice-minded and agile man might become her guardian. Soon, Baek Ah-jin took a job at the cafe he owned. From colleagues, she learned the owner was once a famous athlete who had retired due to injury. At work, someone posted Baek Ah-jin's photo online, and she quickly gained fame for her beauty. Not only did scouts notice her, but also some perverted stalkers with ulterior motives. One day, after work, Baek Ah-jin was followed by a stalker. When Yoon Jun-seo called her, he found her phone and bag abandoned on the road. Following the trail, he saw Baek Ah-jin using a rock to knock the stalker unconscious. Yoon Jun-seo rushed over, checking her for injuries, but Baek Ah-jin scolded him for being too late, asking how far he was willing to go for her. He replied he would do anything except kill. Disappointed, Baek Ah-jin told him that if he was willing to kill for her, she would have him start with her own father before leaving. Yoon Jun-seo threatened the stalker, telling him to forget everything that happened tonight before he would call an ambulance. He then threw away the rock Baek Ah-jin had used to attack, ensuring she wouldn't be implicated. Baek Ah-jin returned home to find her father, who had come to demand money, making a call at the door. The shameless man was on the phone, discussing either forcing Baek Ah-jin to make adult films, selling her to an island, or even cutting out her organs for money. Baek Ah-jin crept up behind him, desperate to push the monster off the balcony. Sensing her gaze and the hatred in her eyes, her father suddenly pinned her against the rooftop railing, threatening to double his demands from next month. To help Baek Ah-jin, Yoon Jun-seo secretly followed her and recorded evidence of her father selling spy cameras. But he was spotted, and her father fled. Yoon Jun-seo chased him down, brutally beating and strangling him unconscious. He picked up a brick, ready to end the monster's life, but hesitated at the last moment, a moment Baek Ah-jin witnessed, leaving her deeply disappointed. Yoon Jun-seo was taken to the police for assault. He accused Baek Ah-jin's father of being the real stalker and tormentor, but Baek Ah-jin turned the tables, claiming Yoon Jun-seo was the stalker, and her father had been trying to save her. When Yoon Jun-seo tried to present the video as proof, it was gone. Baek Ah-jin had handed his phone to the police. She told him she knew he was no match for her father the moment he hesitated with the brick. To get rid of her father for good, Baek Ah-jin began her plan. She drew a wound on her forehead and stuck a bandage on it, pretending to be injured. When her boss saw the wound, he asked what had happened. Baek Ah-jin lied that a stalker had attacked her. The kind boss, concerned for her safety, offered to take her home that night. At Baek Ah-jin's doorstep, they found a package containing a dead mouse. Just then, the boss spotted the stalker and chased after them but failed to catch them. Upon returning, the boss left a baseball bat at Baek Ah-jin's door for protection, exactly as she had hoped. Baek Ah-jin messaged her father, asking him to come over the next night at 8 p.m. to collect money. She deliberately messed up her room. The next day at work, she told her boss that the stalker had ransacked her home. The boss, fearing for her safety, invited her to stay at his place while he went to a friend's for the night. Baek Ah-jin was put in a taxi but soon texted the boss, saying she needed to go back home to grab something. Sure enough, her father was already there. Uncharacteristically, she mentioned how, as a child, she had once thought of buying him a hat when she grew up. She then pulled out a beanie very similar to the one the stalker had worn and put it on her father's head. Under her father's constant pressure, Baek Ah-jin handed him a bag of money, which was actually just paper coupons. Provoked, her father flew into a rage. Baek Ah-jin seized the moment to call her boss, who heard the sounds of a struggle and a cry for help over the phone and rushed to her home. Baek Ah-jin knew it would take the boss 10 minutes to arrive. She had to hold on for that long. She grabbed her pepper spray and sprayed it into her father's eyes. Enraged, he stomped on her fingers. Just as Baek Ah-jin was about to give in, the boss finally arrived. During the fight, the father slashed the boss's face with scissors. The boss picked up the baseball bat by the door and knocked Baek Ah-jin's father to the ground. When the boss regained his senses and saw the scene, he panicked and fled in a hurry. Baek Ah-jin then picked up the bat and struck her fallen father with all her might. After doing this, Baek Ah-jin, she took out her phone and called the police. The police quickly cordoned off the crime scene and arrested the boss. The boss confessed to the police that there had been a stalker in a beanie harassing Baek Ah-jin. That night, seeing a man in a beanie, he mistakenly thought it was the stalker and knocked him down in anger. When he saw the man lying in a pool of blood, he realized he had gone too far and wanted to call an ambulance. Baek Ah-jin told him the man was not the stalker but her own father. She begged him to go home and not get involved, saying she would call for help herself. Surprisingly, the usually calm and rational boss listened to her and left the scene. He still doesn't understand why he acted like a puppet under someone's careful plan that night. After the boss left, Baek Ah-jin took the beanie off her father's head, along with the scissors that had stabbed the boss, and flushed them down the toilet. During the police interrogation, Baek Ah-jin, who had been sent to the hospital, lied and claimed her father was not wearing a hat that day. As for the time of her father's death, between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., she explained that she had been knocked unconscious and only called the police at 3:00 a.m. after regaining consciousness, before passing out again. Baek Ah-jin had just finished speaking when the officer received a call from the boss's agent in front of her and went outside to answer. Sensing something was wrong, Baek Ah-jin moved to the door to eavesdrop and heard the officer decide to frame her, as the agent had offered him a large sum of money to clear the boss's responsibility. Unbeknownst to them, Baek Ah-jin had recorded their conversation and later filmed the officer accepting a bribe in the hospital parking lot. After being taken back to the police station, Baek Ah-jin asked a female officer to accompany her to the restroom under the pretense of her period. There, she showed the officer the evidence of bribery on her phone. The officer immediately reported the incident, and the inspection department launched an investigation. However, the cunning officer had already replaced the money-filled beverage box with drinks, narrowly escaping detection. The next day, the officer returned to the crime scene and found fiber residue from the beanie in the toilet. It was also discovered that Baek Ah-jin had texted the boss on the night of the incident, saying she was going home to get something, followed by a phone call. Bitterly resentful of Baek Ah-jin's schemes, the officer now had new evidence and vowed to charge her with murder. Unexpectedly, Yoon Jun-seo suddenly arrived at the police station to confess, claiming he had killed Baek Ah-jin's father, to direct all suspicion toward himself. However, the police uncovered the truth, exposing his attempt to take the blame for Baek Ah-jin. Desperate, Yoon Jun-seo grabbed a police officer by the neck, crying about how hard Baek Ah-jin had it and begging not to pin the crime on her. The officer urged him to wake up, as evidence showed Baek Ah-jin had used the boss to kill her father, making her complicit in a felony. To save Yoon Jun-seo and clear her own name, Baek Ah-jin agreed to sign with the entertainment company that had long wanted her. The company's CEO used his influence to shift all blame onto the boss, resulting in the case being closed with the boss convicted of killing Baek Ah-jin's father with a blunt object. As a condition, Mr. Seo demanded Baek Ah-jin never see Yoon Jun-seo again, promising to make her an international star and prevent her past from resurfacing. Baek Ah-jin went to say goodbye to Yoon Jun-seo, who accused her of framing the boss, who had genuinely wanted to help. Baek Ah-jin retorted that she pitied no one but herself, lamenting that she had never lived a normal life like others. She vowed to climb to the top no matter what, until no one dared stop her. Afterward, Baek Ah-jin became a rising star in the entertainment industry, skyrocketing from a newcomer to a top celebrity in just a few years. Meanwhile, the boss, now serving time in prison, watched Baek Ah-jin play a nun on screen, staring at the familiar face with complex emotions. As the most promising newcomer actor at Changsing Entertainment, Baek Ah-jin walked the red carpet with superstar Ha In-kang. In-kang carefully assisted her when she accidentally stepped on her dress and had difficulty moving. The strikingly good-looking pair instantly became the center of attention. Yoon Jun-seo, who had just returned from abroad, and Kim Jae-oh, who had already been released from prison, both saw Baek Ah-jin shining on screen. At this time, Yoon Jun-seo had become a rising star in the literary world with the novel The Accomplice, while Kim Jae-oh worked as a courier, sending all his earnings to his aunt, who was raising his younger brother. However, the aunt still treated him as a patricide murderer and refused to let him see his brother. The red carpet photos of Baek Ah-jin and Ha In-kang were seen by Ha In-kang's ex-girlfriend, Im Ryona, who was desperate to get back together with him. She was deeply displeased by Ha In-kang's active attempts to get close to Baek Ah-jin. As actors under the same entertainment company, everyone found Baek Ah-jin innocent and harmless, except for Im Ryona, who felt her gaze was eerie. In-kang had long been tired of Im Ryona's pestering and reiterated that they had broken up, warning her to stop interfering in his life. Unwilling to accept this, Im Ryona took out her anger on Baek Ah-jin. During a scene where they had a dialogue in the rain, Im Ryo-na repeatedly found fault and demanded retakes, making Baek Ah-jin stand in the rain over and over again. The director saw she was deliberately causing trouble and urged her to stop, but Im Ryo-na publicly flaunted her senior status and refused to continue filming. The director had no choice but to ask Baek Ah-jin to apologize to Im Ryo-na as a junior to a senior, as stopping production would cause huge losses for the company. Before Baek Ah-jin could take any action, President Shu arrived on set and warned Im Ryo-na that if she caused more trouble, her scandal of drunk driving and having someone take the blame would be exposed. It turned out President Shu was Ha In-kang's sister. She had asked Ha In-kang to mentor Baek Ah-jin, and in return, Ha In-kang asked her to help him get rid of Im Ryo-na. Watching Im Ryo-na chase after President Shu, groveling in apology, Baek Ah-jin wondered why she was so afraid of President Shu. Baek Ah-jin's agent, who had once been Im Ryo-na's agent, quietly told her that President Shu held the leverage over every actor, and the files containing their secrets were all in her desk drawer. While filming, Baek Ah-jin deliberately chose to do an interview next to Yoon Jun-seo, standing in the crowd and observing quietly. The two, who had once been close, could now only look at each other from afar. Yoon Jun-seo couldn't help but redden his eyes. This subtle emotion was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Yoon Jun-seo's mother, who was unhappy that Yoon Jun-seo still couldn't let go of Baek Ah-jin. Their conversation was accidentally overheard by Im Ryo-na, who suspected that Yoon Jun-seo and Baek Ah-jin were connected. She immediately sent someone to investigate Yoon Jun-seo's background. Mrs. Yoon Jun-seo accused her son of not contacting her after returning to the country, but instead coming to see Baek Ah-jin. The mother and son had already been on bad terms due to Baek Ah-jin, and their argument ended in a quarrel. Furious, Mrs. Yoon Jun-seo went to the entertainment company and found President Shu. She claimed that Baek Ah-jin was the one who had killed her father years ago, while an innocent cafe owner was framed. She cursed, saying that the lowly Baek Ah-jin didn't deserve to be an actor. President Shu immediately ordered her to be thrown out. Baek Ah-jin apologized to President Shu, saying she had caused her trouble. President Shu advised her to make as much money as possible and rise to a height where others couldn't reach, in order to secure her position. As Baek Ah-jin left the office, Im Ryo-na standing at the door gloated, mocking her for not even having her mother on her side and saying her past must have been colorful. Baek Ah-jin leaned close to Im Ryo-na's ear and coldly warned that if she kept this up, the one in trouble would be herself. To investigate Baek Ah-jin's past, Im Ryo-na made sure to attend the same event as Yoon Jun-seo. After the event, she forced Yoon Jun-seo to have dinner with her. When Baek Ah-jin saw the two together, she immediately guessed Im Ryo-na's intentions. At that moment, her agent told her that the company's equipment was being inspected that day, and the power would be cut off at 6 p.m. On the way home, Baek Ah-jin got off the car halfway and asked her agent to go home and rest early. She then quickly returned to the company, hoping to take advantage of the situation to get Im Ryo-na's leverage. Meanwhile, while Im Ryo-na was with Yoon Jun-seo, she received a message from Baek Ah-jin's agent. It turned out the agent had deliberately told Baek Ah-jin about the company's equipment check. After Baek Ah-jin got off the car, the agent immediately informed Im Ryo-na. Baek Ah-jin took the stairs and quietly slipped into President Shu's office. Just as she tried to input the safe's password, Im Ryo-na suddenly appeared behind her, holding their files and gloating. The central elevator still worked in emergencies, so she had beaten Baek Ah-jin to it. Baek Ah-jin chased Im Ryo-na all the way to the parking lot. Im Ryo-na, holding the leverage, demanded Baek Ah-jin kneel and apologize. When Baek Ah-jin refused, Im Ryo-na slapped her hard. Baek Ah-jin fought back, saying, "That's why Ha In-kang doesn't want you." This enraged Im Ryo-na, who continued to beat Baek Ah-jin until she heard the sound of Yoon Jun-seo opening the car door, who had driven her to the company. Yoon Jun-seo watched Baek Ah-jin, now battered and bruised, and his eyes reddened again. Yet, he didn't dare step forward. A few days later, the company held its annual event. Im Ryo-na invited Yoon Jun-seo to attend, specifically emphasizing that Baek Ah-jin would also be there. At the event, Ha In-kang suddenly felt unwell and rushed to the restroom to take his medicine. Unexpectedly, the pills spilled all over the floor. Just as he struggled to crouch down and pick them up, Baek Ah-jin suddenly appeared in front of him and handed him a bottle of water. When Baek Ah-jin returned to the venue, the large screen was playing a highlight reel of the actors. However, at the end of the video, footage of Im Ryo-na slapping Baek Ah-jin repeatedly was shown. As guests began whispering, President Shu quickly stepped onto the stage to save the situation, falsely claiming that the two were filming a scene for a new drama. It turned out that before going to the company, Baek Ah-jin had already suspected that her agent had betrayed her and leaked information to Im Ryo-na. The agent explained that a family member was sick and urgently needed money, and Im Ryo-na had lent her the money, forcing her to do her bidding. Baek Ah-jin had bought off the agent, deliberately leaping into Im Ryo-na's trap to retrieve files from the company. She then intentionally provoked Im Ryo-na, allowing the agent to hide and film her being beaten. Although President Shu temporarily helped Im Ryo-na out of the situation, Baek Ah-jin privately warned her that if she dared to target her again, she would release the video to the public. After dealing with Im Ryo-na, Baek Ah-jin walked back to the venue with ease. Unexpectedly, a familiar figure blocked her way. It was the corrupt police officer who had handled her father's murder case years ago. Disguised as a waiter, the officer questioned her whether she had ever cared about the cafe owner she had framed all these years. Just as Yoon Jun-so present was about to step in to help Baek Ah-jin, a colleague came over to tell her that President Shu was looking for her. The officer took the opportunity to slip away quietly. This scene was witnessed by Im Ryo-na, who secretly took a photo of the officer and ordered someone to investigate his identity. Meanwhile, Im Ryo-na's every move was being watched by Yoon Jun-so from a distance. When Yoon Jun-so returned home, he discovered Baek Ah-jin was already inside his house. As their eyes met, Baek Ah-jin walked over and tightly embraced him. She then leaned on Yoon Jun-seo's shoulder, confessing that she had thought becoming an actress would change her fate, but it seemed destiny had no intention of letting her go. Mrs. Yoon Jun-seo arrived at her son's home and immediately lost control upon seeing Baek Ah-jin there. She frantically grabbed Baek Ah-jin's hair and threw her out. Baek Ah-jin looked at Yoon Jun-seo in despair, saying she was still living in hell. The next day, after finishing the final scene of filming with Ha In-kang, Ha In-kang invited Baek Ah-jin to dinner. He told her that when he and the other members debuted as an idol group, during one event, a member who was supposed to host 8 cookies given by a fan had an allergic reaction and became ill. He took over hosting the event, which was when he began to gain popularity. However, he had known at the time that the cookies contained nuts that would make the member sick, yet he did nothing to stop it. Over the years, every time he had a new drama air, the member would send him a message congratulating him. He didn't know if the other member was aware of his feelings, or if the messages were genuine congratulations, or a way to punish him. He was well aware that Baek Ah-jin had deliberately released the video of Im Ryo-na hitting her at the annual event, and understood her ambition to climb higher. Still, he warned Baek Ah-jin to know when to stop, not to be tormented by inner demons like he was. At that moment, Baek Ah-jin received a call from the officer inviting her to meet, threatening to expose her murder if she didn't come. Baek Ah-jin arrived at the VIP room of the nightclub as agreed, only to find a group of people taking drugs. The officer called again, saying this was her future fate. Frightened, Baek Ah-jin rushed out, only to be seen by Ha In-kang. She explained that she had been invited there but couldn't say by whom. In-kang, finding her evasive, decided she was a scheming woman. Meanwhile, Kim Jae-oh was hired to investigate the officer's information and also managed to switch the officer's phone. He uploaded the officer's data, but overheard the officer conspiring with a reporter to expose Baek Ah-jin's patricide news. Realizing Baek Ah-jin was in danger, he immediately contacted Yoon Jun-seo to ask what was really going on. Yoon Jun-seo told him about the past events, but lied, claiming Baek Ah-jin didn't kill anyone, and that it was the officer who wanted to frame her. To help Baek Ah-jin together, Yoon Jun-seo took him to meet her. After many years apart, Kim Jae-oh excitedly embraced Baek Ah-jin and chatted with her non-stop. Yoon Jun-seo, watching Baek Ah-jin laugh and talk so easily, couldn't help but smile. He had spent his entire life wanting Baek Ah-jin to live as carefree as she was now. Baek Ah-jin shared her plan to fish Ha In-kang with Kim Jae-oh, explaining that they both needed to help her. After Baek Ah-jin left, Kim Jae-oh asked Yoon Jun-seo why he was helping Baek Ah-jin pursue another man. He had assumed Yoon Jun-seo and Baek Ah-jin liked each other. Yoon Jun-seo recalled Baek Ah-jin's words. She had only been married to Ha In-kang for a year, and she wanted to climb the social ladder by stepping on Ha In-kang. Yoon Jun-seo wasn't sure if supporting her decision was right. Kim Jae-oh dug up information on Ha In-kang, learning that he had lost his parents at a young age and was raised by his grandmother, who was his only support. Baek Ah-jin then deliberately bumped into the grandmother, and after a few encounters, the grandmother warmly invited her to dinner. However, when Ha In-kang saw Baek Ah-jin at his grandmother's house, he was furious, convinced she had ulterior motives, and he dragged her out, Baek Ah-jin explained that she had only met the grandmother by chance, and it was Ha In-kang, who, tormented by his past, had become suspicious. Baek Ah-jin then made a heartfelt confession to Ha In-kang before pretending to be heartbroken and leaving. Ha In-kang stood there for a long time. Step 1. Complete. Baek Ah-jin began the second step. Without Ha In-kang's knowledge, she arranged for the other group member to meet Ha In-kang. The member told Ha In-kang that he had known all along that Ha In-kang hadn't stopped him from eating the cookies and that he was aware the cookies contained nuts. He had eaten them because he was tired of the music and couldn't continue as an idol. Over the years, the messages he had sent Ha In-kang were a mix of congratulations and deliberate torment. Now, as he was about to marry and move on to the next stage of his life, he wanted to settle the past. Ha In-kang, enraged, punched him. The member didn't get angry but admitted that he had come at Baek Ah-jin's request. Baek Ah-jin truly cared about Ha In-kang and was doing everything she could to help him let go of his past. Ha In-kang suspected he had misunderstood Baek Ah-jin and proactively invited her to dinner. Baek Ah-jin's side was going smoothly. Yoon Jun-seo and Kim Jae-oh were also taking action. The two kidnapped the officer, who was about to meet with the reporter to expose Baek Ah-jin. They had discovered that the officer's daughter had a history of taking medication, which they used to threaten the officer into never investigating Baek Ah-jin again. Meanwhile, the reporter received a message from the officer, stating that the fact of Baek Ah-jin killing her father never existed. The officer informed the reporter of his failed attempt to expose Baek Ah-jin, who then relayed this news to Im Ryo-na. At the same time, Kim Jae-oh found out that the reporter was Im Ryo-na's person. He couldn't understand why Im Ryo-na was targeting Baek Ah-jin. Upon hearing this, Yoon Jun-seo decided to confront Im Ryo-na directly. When they met, faced with Im Ryo-na's questioning, Yoon Jun-seo claimed that he and Baek Ah-jin were unrelated siblings. However, Im Ryo-na could tell from his expression that he had feelings for Baek Ah-jin. Yoon Jun-seo refused to admit it. Meanwhile, before meeting Ha In-kang for dinner, Baek Ah-jin first went to see Kim Jae-oh. She asked Kim Jae-oh to find a way to delay Ha In-kang for as long as possible. Kim Jae-oh deliberately rode his motorcycle into Ha In-kang's car. Under the pretense of borrowing Ha In-kang's phone, he knocked it into a sewer. By the time Ha In-kang had dealt with the traffic accident, an hour had already passed since his scheduled meeting with Baek Ah-jin. Rushing to the restaurant, he encountered heavy traffic and decided to get out and run. Baek Ah-jin waited until the restaurant closed, calculating that Ha In-kang should have arrived by then, and went downstairs to wait outside. At that moment, Ha In-kang finally reached the restaurant and saw Baek Ah-jin waiting for him at the door. He explained that he had been in a car accident on the way, lost his phone in the sewer, and couldn't contact her. Far from being angry, Baek Ah-jin only cared if he was cold and took off her scarf to put it on him. Touched by her concern, Ha In-kang couldn't help but kiss Baek Ah-jin.